Hello everyone, and welcome to the Overwatch League Network BlizzCon 2019 special. I am your host, Tumbly Drunk, and tonight we got a lot going on, guys. It is BlizzCon week. Hype is at an all-time high. There are a ton of reports going around about Overwatch 2. We've got the World Cup. We got a lot to talk about tonight. So before we get into all of the BlizzCon chatter and introduce you to my co-host, let me just quickly take a moment to thank everyone who is joining us tonight on Twitch for our live show, and I gotta thank all of our repeat listeners out there. So joining me tonight, we have the OWL by the Numbers crew to talk about all of the rumors circling Overwatch, and we're going to get you primed for the World Cup, which kicks off on Halloween this year. So joining me tonight, up first, we have Edinar, who you probably heard talking about manscaping tips on this past week's Heroes Never Die. Ed, welcome aboard.
Yeah, no, seriously, like manscape, like you should really wax your nostrils. It does not hurt, and it feels great, and you breathe a lot better after it. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
This is the kind of top tier content they come for.
Hey! I actually had a request for crazy Edinar stories after I talked about how I got an eraser stuck in my ear. So, this is by request. But no, my week's been a lot of fun. We got BlizzCon coming up. I've been playing a lot of Apex. A lot of fun stuff on the horizon that I actually can't talk about yet. Won't affect anything here. But yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. I didn't get the Ash skin, and I'm not gonna have time to get any more boxes. So I'll probably just have to purchase it. So, well. But I'm not the only one who's here. We have a glorified Freddie Mercury impersonator.
A glorified Freddie Mercury impersonator. There's more clout than I thought I was going to get. All right.
That would be none other than Ramses, also from Push the Point podcast. Ramses, always good to have you on. Oh, and we lost him! That was quick! Imagine that, guys.
Is it good to have him on?
Apparently not. And
I'm still here.
He's still here. He killed his video.
No, I'm telling you, dude, San Diego internet is a special breed, but happy to be here, happy to hang out. It feels like it's been forever since I've actually been on stream with you guys, so I'm stoked to be here. Stoked for my first BlizzCon. It'll be great.
You're not actually on stream with us.
Whatever. Stoked to be on the episode for it. It'll be a great time. I'm excited for all the shenanigans this weekend, all the different announcements, Overwatch 2, World Cup. It's going to be a great time. I'm really hyped for it.
Not to mention, you also have a pretty hype episode releasing here soon for Push the Point with a special guest talking. I'm assuming you guys are going to mostly talk about the World Cup, because
here and there,
that person is involved.
Well, so it was great. We had them on near the beginning of the show, and we talked like World Cup, what their background is. They do a lot of work with a specific contenders team as well. Within
Is it more than one?
More than one person?
Yeah.
No, it's just the one. But
okay.
No,
do you have like all of them on? Do you have some crazy ass round table?
The dream is for us to get Huck, and then we'll have Ed on at the same time, just like and watch Ed throw a billion questions at the guy. But yeah, mostly a lot of talk. Mostly a little bit of talk about World Cup, some contender stuff, and then we actually, Lobo and I did the rest of the show, just the two of us talking about all of the moves, because with the amount of signings and trades we had in the last week, how could you, we can't just sweep that under the rug and pretend it didn't happen.
We did like 2 hours on just that on Heroes Never Die.
Yeah, I tallied up how many roster moves there were between our last 2 Heroes Never Die episodes, and not including any staff or coach changes. There were 28 total between just 1 week alone. It was an absurd amount. But it is BlizzCon week. We've had a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. We got a lot of stuff in the works for BlizzCon, and we can't wait to jump right in. But let's talk about the biggest news to come in out of just general Overwatch in the past week, and this was reported on ESPN by none other than Slasher. And obviously we got BlizzCon speculation at an all-time high, and even BlizzCon is not shying away from potential leaks. So back in June, Ed, you and I had talked about rumors revolving around a PvE, player versus environment focused Overwatch game. And at the time, there was a lot of talk about how they were pulling resources from a canceled StarCraft 2 first-person shooter game that was also using the Overwatch engine. So basically what happened is ESPN obtained this document, which really gives us our first look at what we can expect from Overwatch at BlizzCon this year. And it's looking like we're gonna get PvE content, and we're gonna have, like, hero talents, in-game items, and this is gonna be for Overwatch 2. Now, whatever iteration of that...
Overwatch Chapter 2.
Whatever iteration of that you can make, we don't know. Obviously, with this report, we have a lot of questions and very few answers, but here are the details that we do know. We know that one of the playable missions will be a 4-player story experience set in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And, going back to those reports back in June, we knew that they were going towards a more, like, Left 4 Dead style of gameplay. Now, the focus of the game will be on player versus environment, but the game is set to see its first new game mode since the game was released back in beta, called Push, which is going to be set on a new map based in Toronto. So you can blame Canada for that, even Ed. But both the story mode and this new game mode are expected to be playable at BlizzCon this weekend, with a release date slated for 2020. Now that we have that out of the way, obviously, there's a lot to kind of digest here. We'd already heard rumblings about a potential sequel back in June. Now it's looking like we got, more details. We've had things that were kind of debunked already, like the Coca-Cola cans and things like that. But we've gotten, images of some new character models. We've seen some of the talents that we get from Tracer. And, it's looking like it's pretty legit at this point, but we have to beg the question, is it too early in the game's lifespan to see a sequel, assuming that this is a standalone game? Because right now, that is probably the biggest question that everyone has. Is this just going to be a massive update, similar to what we saw from Heroes of the Storm 2.0? Or is this going to be a completely new game, new engine, and new everything, where we're going to have Overwatch active at the same time as Overwatch 2?
Ramses, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go.
All right.
So it's really weird because so far we've kind of seen middling reports that, like, part of it's going to be PvE, but there is going to be at least a little bit of PvP content in there. We don't know necessarily at all what that really comes out to, but we do know that it's going to be not primarily, I take that back. There's going to be substantial PvE content. The thing that I keep hearing people around the league talk about is, like, what if Overwatch had raids? Or what if Overwatch had raids? Like, what if there were, like, big giant multiplayer events you could do? So that'll be cool to see. There's definitely gonna be a lot of character models, like, changing around. I know, just seeing from the minor art that we've seen so far, like, Lucio looks almost completely different. Ryan looks completely different. Tracer looks slightly different. I think something also that's worth mentioning is that we for sure have confirmed by Slasher that there's going to be a new map with Toronto, and then there's also going to be a new game mode called Push. We don't know necessarily what that is going to be, whether it's like like a strictly PvE mode, or if it's going to be a PvP mode that might even see play in Overwatch League and other competitive servers as well. So I'm looking forward to it a lot. As far as whether or not this was needed, I think Blizzard's in a weird situation where they've said that so much themselves. Like, if you were going to make a story thing for Overwatch, you'd have to completely just redo the game almost. And I think with the amount of balancing, like the balancing path they've taken themselves so far, I think a solution that jumps to mind is just hitting the reset button and just redoing a bunch of it in one giant swath. Whether that means we take the first, like, 20 heroes and we don't include any of the newer ones, or we mix and match. I think like to do like as much of a balance overhaul and a balance like philosophy shift as they say they've been wanting to do, they would have to start from complete scratch almost.
Now, all right, so I'm thinking more not crazy, but more like big picture. And from what I've seen in the past is I think this is going to be a whole new game. And what I kind of related to, not exactly like the game itself, like the play style, but what it did was Destiny. Like Destiny was out there, it was great, people loved it, but they hit a point where they couldn't do anything truly new and groundbreaking and different until they released Destiny 2. And then they went out and did that, and then they got to do sweeping changes across the board that they couldn't have done with Destiny. I kind of see that happening here. Like there are certain things maybe that they cannot revert now because it's been so long in the game that they can revert or just not include or get rid of or do whatever with this new game. And like bringing in like you said, maybe getting rid of heroes, maybe bringing in new heroes, maybe getting rid of certain maps, getting rid of assault or 2CP or something
Mm.
like that. They could never do that before, but they can do that now. They also have the introduction of, and I think Slasher put it best because you can't really compare this to like a Red Dead Redemption or a Destiny type of thing because Overwatch, the way it's built, is not based on getting gear, getting guns. Like it's not a looter shooter type of thing, PvE atmosphere. But what you can turn it into is kind of like a Diablo MOBA esque type of thing, where you have to hit that fine line between an FPS and a MOBA. And we kind of saw that with the Tracer upgraded talents. The farther you go along, the more you get to upgrade the talents. Is going to be, ways, the best way to do this. Different encounters use this, different, so on and so forth, which can also be taken into account for raids or, dungeons or stuff like that. I think they need to probably do kind of a giant mesh of a whole new genre. And I know that seems drastic, but it's not really that drastic. Like you need to take stuff from like Destiny 2 and Heroes of the Storm and Red Dead Redemption and add it with the Overwatch of the past. So you have that PvP, so you can still keep that competitive nature of it, the Overwatch League, all that stuff. But then you can also get the people who will play this game for the dungeons, the raids, the PvE content, and all that stuff. Now, that I honestly, the biggest question to me is whether they are going to carry stuff forward or if you literally start off with a fresh slate. Because this would also be just a 100% MMR reset too. So like they could start over fresh with everyone's MMR.
Remember when they did reset MMR and it was a bug?
Yeah. But like they could like this would give them the perfect reason to start over on MMR and people would be happy about that.
But they'll complain about nothing carrying over with cosmetics.
Exactly. The cosmetics. Now, will that be a big issue 2 months after the game? No, because they'll probably come out with all new cosmetics and stuff like that. The only things I would maybe even see coming over would be Overwatch League skins.
So the other thing too is just like when we're talking about in-game cosmetics, how are those going to be handled in Overwatch 2? You guys feel like they are going to go without loot boxes? Because obviously there's been a ton of controversies in regard to like the gambling aspect of loot boxes. There are certain countries where you can't even acquire loot boxes or purchase them, using real money. Obviously, we've seen a lot of different games now in basically like implementing sort of like battle pass, and they could go that route and can do challenges and things like that to earn in-game rewards. What do you guys feel they're gonna go with that route? Because I know a lot of people, like even right now, obviously we have Halloween Terror going on, and basically I would say 95% of the people that I've talked to that play on the regular, maybe not like hours at a time every day, But like I've been talking to D from Omnic Weekly a lot, and a lot of the EU crew, and everyone I've talked to has had absolute shit luck with the loot boxes for Halloween Terror. So much to the point where the most skins someone has had through loot boxes was 1.
Yes. I honestly think that they will go away from loot boxes. Now, with that said, I think they will go towards a battle pass.
Mhm.
And on top of that, like added on to that, is they will get something like if you truly want a specific thing, they will sell almost crafting materials.
Mm-hmm.
So you can craft your own. Like and like you can earn crafting materials by leveling up, but if you want it sooner, kind of like what they have with the currency now. Like you slowly earn currency for like duplicates and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like and you still like even in Apex, let's say, they still have loot boxes. Whatever, but they have the battle pass. And they don't sell the loot boxes really. Like you can, but it's not a monetization for them. It's the battle pass. But they need to implement something to get like crafting materials or currency or stuff like that. So you
Well
can buy specific ones.
well, and so I know a lot of so before the Slasher League came out, we were also hearing some similar leaks from Metro, who was somebody who leaked a lot of the stuff for last year's BlizzCon and got most of it right. And it sounds like Overwatch, at least from his theory, like from his reported leak, is that it sounds like Overwatch would be going free to play. Which at that point I think does mean you transition into a battle pass format. Part of me really hopes that if you go into that battle pass format, it really helps Blizzard stay on their shit as far as like responding to player concerns. And it would make sense as far as this is the optimist in me here, really wants to believe that this is why Blizzard has taken so long to address so many concerns in the past, is because they're taking half of their team and half of the Camps and StarCraft team to really try and get this thing out the door. Because I think you have to get it out. For my money, I think you have to have it out by first quarter next year, just so we can be out in time with Overwatch League, regardless of whether or not that's actually the game that they play Overwatch League games on. I also wonder, like with Overwatch League specifically, so we talk about this being more of like a kind of a hybrid PvE PvP mode. It makes you wonder how much of a change this is going to be. Like we think about with the league going in next year, like so you already do a big change with like not with what's it called with globalizing all your different teams. If everybody's on a completely different game too, like what is that going to do? Obviously it can't be that different because you don't want people's skill sets to be similar. You don't want somebody who's really good to all of a sudden be garbage. But it's like I think they have to have this change has to come really quickly because we already know the Overwatch player base is very upset with the state of the game right now.
Right, and a lot of people right now, at least that are looking into this, are like completely distracted by the fact it's just like, oh, so this is how they're going to fix the game. They're just going to start from scratch at this point. Because obviously, like they've had an issue getting the balancing right, and you're never going to get it perfect. But a lot of it just revolves around getting the right amount of CC and the variance of crowd control to that sweet spot. But that is an uphill battle to say the least, just because like certain metas dictate certain heroes being part of the meta, but we do know, like, this is going to be heavily focused on PvE, and we did get an image of some of Tracer's abilities that you'll get as you level up, and, so far, these are the only talents that we have seen. Now, based on the screenshot, it kind of looks like they're going the Heroes of the Storm talent route, where you're going to have the option of choosing between one of two talents. So at level 1, you have the option of either picking up Adaptive Reload or Hindsight. So Adaptive Reload, you have your pulse pistols reloaded whenever you use an ability. And then with Hindsight, Recall causes damage to all recently damaged enemies, which is pretty interesting. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on what you think of the abilities just at a glance right now, and whether or not you feel like this is going to be just pick one or the other, or maybe we'll get to see both of these.
I think they each one of these talents, especially from the PvE side, is where I'm assuming this will be implemented. I don't think this is going to be a PvP type of thing. Although if it is, that will add a whole new dimension to the Overwatch League.
Right, it's essentially would be like a loadout, so to speak.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I think
What?
all of these abilities are kind of built towards different PvE situations that we're going to
Mhm.
see, where one's not going to be crazy powerful over the other, especially if you start off fresh with each PvE encounter and you build up towards that. Each like different PvE scenario will have a different like load up, uh, so to say. So like I think they look really cool and like what it says is cool, but again, we don't know damage numbers. We don't know like what is actually good and what's not. But this is cool. Um, yeah, this is a cool system. I would hope, and this is me personally, I hope that it's not in the PvP side of it because that's one of the things I hated the most in Heroes of the Storm is just like, okay, now what do the other team have? What should I switch up to? I got to take time out of my like. Imagine you're in a map and then you just upgraded, but you're in a fight, but you need that other talent, so you have to stop, do that, and then you run the risk of dying. It's just it's a little too much going on in certain PvP
Yeah,
situations.
but at the same time, this also kind of aids into the whole discussion about getting that sweet spot for a crowd control, because you can do that via talents as well. It doesn't have to be specifically to just an ability.
Well, and I would imagine they would do something similar to how Mortal Kombat has like tournament builds. To like, there's certain ability, like I guess paths even, or just certain abilities like what's the word? Like sets that are like legal for Overwatch League use. If the Overwatch League even ends up on this, because I think part like the thing that is also important is that we're also, from what I remember, we're also being told that they're not getting rid of Overwatch One, quote unquote. Like that it's these things are meant to exist almost at the same time, from what it sounds like.
Which to me sounds weird, because I don't like the idea of just having these separate development teams and like having separate balance in. And if both of them do have PvP elements, especially with Overwatch 2, I don't like the idea of basically pooling and just like separating like two completely different queue systems or having two different ranked modes and things like that. It doesn't make too much sense to me. I'd much rather see this being more in vein with Fortnite, because they have the PvP aspect, they have the PvE aspect, and you just go into the menus. I would rather just see the overhaul at that point, so it's more in line with Heroes of the Storm 2.0, and that was a pretty big deal when it came out. But either way, like I'm pretty sure like we can all agree, like Overwatch 2, we're all hyped about it, but we're cautiously optimistic. Obviously, it's still kind of early on, and there's games that have been running a lot longer, like say League of Legends, who just celebrated 10 years, who are still doing regular updates. We haven't heard anything about a sequel to that, but right now we're just kind of waiting.
And
It's a calm before the storm.
I'll say this, and you know what? Everyone's saying it as a laugh and a joke and whatever. It could be a freaking mobile game. Like we legit don't know. Like like that
Can you
tracers.
imagine?
But that's the thing is mobile games are the thing of the future. So all right, Ramses, me and you have talked about this. The Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes game.
Mhm.
It's a free to play game, mobile game, probably makes more money outside of like the initial game than Overwatch does. Like I personally have met people that have spent $50,000 on that game, on a mobile game. Okay. For some reason, people get obsessed with mobile games. Like free to play where it's semi pay to win, semi not, or whatnot. But like those, like let's say those abilities that we saw, that could be something where you pick your talents for PvP. So like you have like a 6-on-6 like turn-based type of thing, kind of like in Pokemon or something like that. Like you attack, they attack, you attack, they attack, or whatever. But you can use the abilities, like the talent trees, to build different teams. Like, I'm
So,
not saying that's likely, but I'm not going to completely rule out the possibility of it being a mobile game.
Mhm.
so you're basically putting it into like an auto battler type
Well, like
genre, because
you can target who you want to, but and then like you have like three abilities you can pick from. Like you have the basic ability and like two specials, or let's say. And depending on who they have and what talents they have, you will need to choose what ability you use in that situation, and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of games out there like this, like Dragon Age, Marvel something or another, um, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. And I mean, I've talked about this on other shows before. I think this is going to be a big mobile BlizzCon. And reason being, one of the biggest Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes YouTubers. His name's Mobile Gamer. All he deals with is mobile games. Like that's what he does. His name's Mobile Gamer, but he has you know he has an insane following. And he, in one of his most recent videos, says Blizzard invited him to BlizzCon for the release of a new game. And if all he does is mobile games, that leads me to believe that they're going to be releasing some form of a mobile game. And I don't think it's going to be Immortals, because I mean that was announced last year. It just hasn't been released. So
I'm
I don't know. Like, I could see them doing a mobile game around Overwatch or something like that.
I could see it. I think the thing that keeps me away from it only is because, like, looking at Slash's tweets recently, he sounds very confident as far as this is Blizzard taking, like, Blizzard is taking the right steps to address like current problems with the game and to forge a new path with the game. And for my personal standing, that doesn't include having a mobile game. But I think something that's interesting with Overwatch is that Overwatch is one of these rare situations where people have, it's a game that people really like at its core, but that people have bought in so mega hard over the lore. But there's like, again, there's barely any of that lore even out there.
mm,
So people have bought so much into this world, into the lore of the game, that they know they have money on the table with that. So I think you could see a mobile game go into that. I think they're like, bottom line with this BlizzCon, with how much Riot like has done in the past like month or so with everything they've announced, which is pretty much them specifically saying like, "Hey, like we're coming after Blizzard." I like Blizzard has to respond in kind, and they have stuff ready for this BlizzCon, but like they're gonna have to bring out the biggest guns they possibly can if they want to remain in the same place.
and it's worth noting too, no other BlizzCon has had this many coming soon panels. There's 4 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, 6 in total. But going back to the whole PvE side of things, it's important to note, like when we look at a game like Overwatch, that engine was not built for PvE in mind. The demand was there from the community, and we got it via Junkenstein's Revenge. We got it with the mission archives, and that's going to be completely overhauled and going to be a PvE focus. But getting back to Tracer really quick, looking at the other talents, we have Flash, where you blink through enemies and it damages them. And then Chain Reaction, where your Pulse Bomb causes secondary explosions on enemies that are damaged by it. And then at level 20, there's Vortex, where enemies are pulled towards the point of recall and snared. So kind of like a mini Graviton. And then Speed Kills, where killing blows speed up your cooldowns. So pretty interesting ones there, but it's interesting. Like, I don't know what sort of level cap they're going to do in regards to the PvE side, whether we're going to have, like 50, 60, how the breakdown is going to be with levels. By the looks of it, it might be every 10, based on the screenshot that we have, since they are level 1, 10, and 20.
I mean, yeah, like that's 10 and 20 right now. I honestly don't like everything we say is probably wrong. Like,
It's freeing, isn't it?
it's like, so we got leaks, we got all of these leaks, but all it did was create a billion more questions going into BlizzCon than we had before. Like I just don't even know. Like I don't even know if their PvE side of it is going to be like leveling, or there will be a level cap or anything like that. I don't even know if it's going to be that. I just don't know. All I know is I'm excited.
Very much so. I think part of this too, we didn't talk about as much that Slasher also leaked that we should be expecting a new hero announcement.
He debunked that.
Yeah, he
Oh, he did?
retracted that and took it out of his
Mhm.
ESPN article.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, because I know Metro was basically stated too, like, don't expect a new hero. Even though, we have seen some of the artwork for BlizzCon, and it does have Echo, so who knows at this point? Like, a lot of hype
Well,
around Echo being a playable hero.
technically, if Echo launches with Overwatch 2, she's not a new hero technically.
And I will say all right, all of these leaks are coming from Blizzard because legit everything has been leaked. Like Diablo 4 is leaked.
Well, we already knew that was happening.
We
Because
already knew
even
that was
going into BlizzCon last year, even like a week out, they were saying, we're working on it, but we're not ready yet. So we
Yes.
knew it was in the works. Then, of course, we got Diablo Immortal that year, but it should
And
be a
then-
pretty big year for Diablo.
Spoiler, there was a leak of the Bolvar
Mhm.
Lich King you know login screens for WoW, and then there was Overwatch 2 artwork on the site with Echo in the background. Did you see that? Like this was actually like reported by like Wowhead and stuff like that. Like they're like, what is going on here? Like this was leaked on a Blizzard site, and it shows Echo in the background shooting lasers. So if there's not a voice line where it says freaking laser beams,
Mhm.
but I still think, yeah, I think Ramses is kind of right. If it's just in a new game, it's not a new character.
That's a way to work around it. But based off of the images that we have seen, it does look like they are going for a more realistic aesthetics. We got an image of Lucio. And I know, like, there's some weird stuff going on with his hair. It's, like, kind of like spaghetti-ish, and it's, like, neon green. I'm not sure what to think about that. But we do see Reinhardt rocking, a longer beard. He's got a man bun. He's got some new armor. But I want to see, like, what this is going to mean. Like, are there going to be other characters that are going to be, donning some new equipment? Like, how bent out of shape is Reinhardt at this point, and why is he still fighting after all of these years? I wonder what, like, the gap between the year of, like, current game is in and then where Overwatch 2 is going to be in regards to the timeline.
I mean,
Well, one thing you can confirm, Brig is in the game.
yes, Brig is in the game.
It was not deleted.
Nope. Brig is in the game. Sadly, so's May. One thing I did notice with like the leak artwork, the only people shown are like the good guys. So like you're talking Echo, Brig, Tracer, Ryan, Mercy, May, Gengu,
Even though she's the Antichrist.
Yes, and Winston. Like because it was leaked
Genji wears pants now. I mean, Genji wears pants and a hoodie now. I don't know how much I believe in him being good for long.
Yeah, but it was leaked from the Blizzard Blink store.
Mhm.
But yeah, like so maybe this is all Overwatch related stuff, and we're fighting against Talon and the bad guys. Even though sometimes the bad guys are good guys. Who knows?
I mean, some of them you just can't even get a read on.
Right? Like, is McCree good or bad?
You can say the same thing with Symmetra. She, like...
Right?
She's in between the lines.
Like, I don't quite know if they're good or bad.
So outside of that, obviously one of the other big questions is what are we going to do in regards to future hero releases? If these are separate entities, are we still going to see new heroes being released for the base game, or is this going to strictly just revolve around adding new characters to Overwatch 2? Combination of the two? That's another thing, like, because when we look back when it comes to Overwatch, they always said like you're not going to be paying for new heroes or DLC. Like the
Mhm.
updates will be free, and I don't know what direction they're going to take until we know definitively is Overwatch 2 just an overhaul of the game, and then and Overwatch 1.0 will be completely gone. What is going to happen? And that's like it scares me, but like I'm also like super curious. We need an answer at this point, and we're not going to know until Friday. This
Yeah, and if they do go to the free to play method, I think I mean, they obviously then met their promise of not charging for additional content and no DLCs. Um, but then you have the battle pass,
Mhm.
but that's not DLC type stuff. That's cosmetic stuff.
Hey, as long as we get mechs in Overwatch, I'm happy about it.
Is that a Fortnite reference?
Yeah, you haven't seen people complaining on Twitter about mechs for like 3 months in a row?
Uh, it's the internet. I've
Um,
legit seen them complaining since WW Nam.
Mhm.
That
at
one went
any rate.
straight over Ramsey's head. You are
Yes, it did.
so young.
Um, I think the hero releases are going to be interesting because I think it really makes you wonder what, like you guys were saying, what their balancing mindset is going to be for each individual game, if there even is an individual mindset for each one. Because I just have to imagine you release Overwatch 2, how much of it is this being the new game for going forward, and how much of it is them keeping a separate competitive client?
Yeah. I just can't see them keeping both games.
I agree.
Like that's just it just no, it's just too chaotic that way. I think they this becomes Overwatch Chapter 2. It becomes free to play. I think they give you if you had previously purchased the game, you get some sort of incentive. Like you get some free like skins or something like that to reward you for being, around for so long. And then this is the game going forward and it's free to play because they're not you got to think that their Overwatch is not selling many new
Yeah,
copies of the
you
game.
also limit yourself because it is a box. I mean, even with the Switch, like the Switch release just happened not that long ago, and you're not even actually getting a cartridge. You're getting a digital code.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think they get rid of the actual 59.99 game. They go free to play, and then they use battle passes and maybe on top of that loot boxes, um, or some weird variation to monetize everything.
I mean, they could do the Battlefront 2 route where you get a loot box literally every day that just has crafting, like that. The only way you can get loot boxes is just ones that have crafting materials.
Yeah, yeah. Or every level you get, you just get a loot box. That's it. And then if you want to spend money, you spend it on the battle pass type
Hmm.
of thing. And I'm totally fine with that. Like this is I think gone are the days of loot boxes and battle passes are the way of the future now for the foreseeable future because you get rid of the loot boxes are RNG or technically gambling and illegal and all that crap. Fucking nonsense. But you get rid of all that, you get the battle pass, and every 2 to 3 months, whenever we get a new season, you get a new battle pass. It actually would probably bring in more money for Overwatch to do that. Like, imagine if they had 4 seasons throughout the year. Because really, who gives 2 craps if the season's 6 weeks? No one. Like, no one's like, "Oh my god, I have to really push this. The season ends in 2 weeks." Well, they don't care if the season ends at 6 weeks or 10 weeks.
Mhm.
Like, they truly don't care, but if they go every 3 months for a season, release a new battle pass for every season, basically, you're getting for a lot of people, you're getting $120 out of them throughout the year for the battle pass.
Right, and then you
That's
revolve your balance patches around, the new pass.
yeah. With I would also say minor changes in between for screw ups, but yeah, I think that's a good business model for any game. Um, and yes, it will make some of the meta stale. So
But Ed, it's been 3 weeks of me shooting at shields, and I need to let the internet know about it. I'm so mad, Ed.
see, okay, so here's the thing. There's two metas. There's the meta of the Overwatch League and top 500, let's say. Those are fairly similar metas. And then there's meta for the rest of the game, which is not anywhere close to that.
But
It's
Ed, I
not.
saw pro players complaining about shields. Ed, what am I gonna do, Ed?
Yeah. Are you getting paid $50,000 from the LA Valiant? Because that's all they're willing to pay to play professionally? No, you are not. It's just it's one of those things where outside of the top 500 in pro leagues, you could yes, there are stronger and weaker heroes. That's a given. But there you could play whatever the hell you want. You can play Rhyme Zarya in plat, in diamond, you can, and you will be just fine. Like, I don't know. That's just my thing on it. Is yes, it will make maybe watching the Overwatch League a little stale, but we're also going to be getting fewer games to get stale on.
Well, I also think like having it released around battle passes would, in theory, give them more balance intervals that they could use throughout the season as well.
Yep.
So it's
I
almost like your input. It's almost like you're putting in a stage sort of balance system.
hmm
All good.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say like another perfect example because I've been playing a lot of it lately is Apex. They do the battle passes, but they are doing changes almost weekly type of thing. You can still make changes.
Now, just a quick side note there, that's also kind of forced from the hand of Fortnite because they also do that methodology. Like that's what they do every single week. There's like new updates. So like I feel like that's more Apex just trying to keep pace more than anything.
And there's less intricacies, I think, in Overwatch than in like Apex and Fortnite and stuff like that because you can't rotate between weapons between every single person type of thing. But I think the changes could stay at the same pace they're at, regardless of a battle pass or not. But it would kind of give you a rough estimate when we would get new heroes. Because then you can start going on the okay, we'll get 4 new heroes a year, one at the start of each season. Maybe we'll get maps twice a year type of thing. Like, and it'd work up well for BlizzCon. Like you have BlizzCon in November, they announce a new hero, they don't release it to live until January 1st. Like it makes sense to me, but the community and the cesspool of Reddit would be in an uproar. So yeah, Misfit in chat is like play in silver gold. The meta doesn't exist. So true. Like the meta never calls for an attack Torbjorn. Ever. Yet we still see it.
So we pretty much know that we are going to get Overwatch 2. Obviously, like, any other sort of announcement would kind of be overshadowed in regards to Overwatch. So, like, it almost, like, rules out, like, anything outside of, like, a new animation or something like that. Like, I can't imagine, like, we'll get Overwatch 2 and then, like, oh, here's a new hero for the base game, here's a new animation, things like that. Like, I just feel like Overwatch 2 is just gonna be, like, their big punch, so to speak. Like, that's gonna be the thing that's gonna bring people back, and then they're just gonna go from there. But, like, I can't imagine we're gonna just have separate announcements between the two at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do going forward.
Also, I'm gonna be real pissed if we don't get an animated short.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Well, that's part of the leaks too, is that, like, there is going to be an animated short.
Yeah. An animated short to introduce Overwatch 2.
And it better be 30 minutes to make up for all of the other lost time of not having animated shorts.
Right? Ugh. Those dicks. Although I'm in the same boat as Ramsey's. Like, first BlizzCon, it's going to be sensory overload the entire time.
All I'm gonna say is, like, I know when I was there for the new IP reveal when they initially announced Overwatch, at that moment, and even up to this point, I'm like, there's nothing that could possibly top this BlizzCon moment for me. And, there's a good chance, like, maybe this is going to be the year. Like, that's between Diablo, between this potential announcement, that might actually do it for me. And it's just crazy to think about, just because, like, you could just feel the electricity in the room as soon as the new IP was unveiled, after, Blizzard didn't have a new IP in the past 15 years. So I cannot wait to see what the buzz is going to be about Overwatch 2 at the convention center this weekend. But of course, I'm sure we're all going to, hop in line at various times to check out, the PvE side, whatever the new game mode for Push is going to end up being. Maybe it's going to be Tug of War, because that's been, like, kind of like one of the highly sought after PvP modes. Will it replace 2CP? I honestly don't know, but it would be kind of weird if Push is, like, more of a, like, another, like, payload variant, and I don't think people are going to want something like that, even though Escort brings it back.
I'm asking you each question, and we'll start with Ramsey's. If you, in Overwatch 2, if you could get rid of one thing, only one.
Harris!
Really? Well, you gotta. I said we're going to Ramsey's first.
Because I know exactly where you're going.
Ramsey's, what would you get rid of? You could get rid of one thing. And that includes heroes, that includes abilities.
I'm not changing my mind.
That includes everything. If you could get rid of one thing, what would it be?
I don't know, because part of me wants to remove Paris. And then part of me also wants to remove. Part of me also wants to remove, I would say, Sombra. Just because as a tank player, it is incredibly frustrating to play against when all of a sudden you're hacked and you can't do anything about it. I think I would just bite the bullet for everybody and just say I would remove 2CP.
Okay.
So you remove Paris.
All of them.
Okay, and we all know what Totem would choose. And I am going with something else. I wasn't going to go with Paris Totem. I would get rid of Mercy's res. It has always been one of the hardest things for Blizzard to balance around. Because when it was powerful, Mercy was the meta. And then they basically gutted her. And then she's gone out of the meta, and then her res is the only thing holding her back now, because it's just not that effective. Like, Mercy's res is one of those abilities that is so detrimental to a game. Bringing back someone from the dead is pretty massive. So if I could get rid of one thing, it would be Mercy's res.
I know, I'm not a fan of
don't tell Mel.
Taking something away after it's introduced.
Yeah. Don't tell Mel, because Mel and me have gotten into numerous arguments about Mercy's res.
I'm messaging her right now on Discord.
And then she'll be like, "Fucking Ed."
I'll ping her in the Calm Before the Storm Overwatch panel.
Fine, but yeah, no, I would get rid of Mercy's res.
Well, we will find out for sure on Friday, but let's talk about the World Cup, which is the other big thing for BlizzCon in regards to Overwatch. So, a couple of updates for this year's World Cup. We got 3 days of action. We have the preliminaries all happening on Halloween for 12 hours, guys. We got Overwatch World Cup action. And we have the group stage commencing on Friday. And then we have the playoffs starting on Saturday. So where can you watch the Overwatch World Cup? Well, the playoffs will all be streamed on the Overwatch League Twitch channel. Then when it comes to the preliminaries and the group stage matches, they'll be streamed across 4 different channels. So that'll be twitch.tv/playoverwatch. They'll also be on Overwatch Contenders. And then they have OWWC1 and OWWC2. And of course, with that, we also got the talent lineup announcement today. So we got Avast, ZP, Bren, Sideshow, Jake, Lemon Kiwi, Jaws, Leg Day, Mr. X, Uber, Golden Boy, Reinforce. And we also got Zoe, Emily Tane, and Danny Lin. So a good mixture of contenders and also Overwatch League talent across the board with the talent lineup. But man, that 12-hour block for preliminaries on Halloween is going to be pretty brutal. But for those that don't know how the format is working, basically, like, we have the top 5 ranked teams locked in for the group stage. And then we got the prelims, so we're going to have 5 teams advancing from the prelims to join said group stage. So the teams that are locked in right now, you have the top seed in South Korea, the second seed, which is Canada. We got China in 3rd, France in 4th, and then the United States, because they always finish 5th through 8th, locked in the top 5. But we have a lot of teams competing in the prelims. And really the only unknown right now that we still don't know about is Brazil, whether or not they are attending. But, we have other top 10 countries based on prior World Cup performances, so that would include teams like Sweden, Finland, Russia, the UK, who beat US last year, and of course, the Australian team. But I want to get your guys' thoughts on how they're going about, like, doing the format this year, because basically, if you weren't a top 10 team, you basically had to fund your way to BlizzCon. They went away with all of the kind of like group stages in order to qualify. And then you had like a lot of crowdfunding going on in regards to getting these teams to Anaheim for the event. And then even up to this point, guys, like, we still don't even know what the matches are going to be on Thursday for the preliminaries. So, like, there's still so much unknown right now.
I would hate to say I'm a fan of the new format, but I think I I think I would understand his reasoning. Just that realistically, World Cup is not something that Blizzard makes really any sort of not even money, like, profit. They don't really make any money off of it. In this, like, getting all these teams out here. I totally get the dream, and I miss how it used to be where we would get these crazy, like, you would have these super tiny teams squaring off and it'd be a great game. But it just does not make sense for Blizzard to fund a bunch of these major teams, like, more than like the select few, like, top tier teams actually being there. And it sucks because a lot of smaller nations miss out. But I just don't see how Blizzard can realistically finance for everybody.
Right.
And then I am looking forward to Team USA not making it past first round because, of course. Uh, but with looking with the rest of the other teams, it also means that the one and done kind of format, one of the side effects, of course, is that you don't you have to be at your best right then and there. Like, no excuses. You just have to play at your highest capability. And you got to wonder where World Cup used to be kind of the scouting ground for players in the past. Do we see that same kind of scouting with World Cup in like this in this more like enclosed, rushed environment?
I don't think so. I don't think World Cup is the best way to find new talent. I know there's a couple of teams that are running budget for the Overwatch League this next year. Primarily like, Boston, LA Valiant, and I know Boston has been doing like open trouts and things like that. Obviously, they still have options to promote from their academy team, and you get a lot more from like a longer format structure than you would in something that's only going to be taking place in a couple of days. In the World Cup's case.
Yeah, I hate to say this, but I agree with Ramses. I like this new format of outside of the top teams, the people having to pay their own way. Because like honestly, it'd get out of control if they had to pay for everyone to come there to compete in front of no one just so they can play on a better ping. Like that's what the majority of this is these people will be coming for the chance to compete on better ping than they would from their home country. And and you can't expect Blizzard to pay for all of that. Like the closest thing to this is, the World Cup, like for soccer or the Olympics or something like that.
Oh, I thought you meant for curling. Okay.
Hmm.
So for the World Cup for soccer, FIFA doesn't pay for the teams to come to the World Cup. No. The countries have to pay to go to, the soccer World Cup. The Olympics, if you've ever seen the movie Cool Runnings, you know the Olympic does not pay for it and they have to get that money on their own. That's why whatever his name was had to sell his car against his dad's wishes to send the bobsled team to Canada. You know, feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme. No, but I
We
like
already
this
talked about Lucio.
I like this new setup, but I agree with Ramses about the single elimination. I'm not a big fan of it because like you said, you have to be on in every game, but that also is part of the high risk, high reward aspect of it. Like if you aren't on for a game, you'll get knocked out and then you're out. Like, so it's kind of like the NCAA bracket at that point. I wouldn't mind doing like the double elimination thing. They just don't have time. If BlizzCon goes to 3 days, they have time. But people have been asking for BlizzCon to be 3 days due to esports for Lord knows how long. So it's definitely something that everyone looks forward to. And the fact that people, right, this is another little pet peeve of mine. The people think that they use the World Cup for scouting players. You're wrong.
I think they used to.
No, they
I think
used to. Now, no,
well now
they
the content
don't.
I think the part of it that we get I know I personally get antsy with is that we've seen since the beginning, we've seen Blizzard kind of consistently just take little bits of cutbacks to the World Cup for the past couple of years. And I think part of the worry is that this is an event that people really love, that I think people get anxious that it's just going to go away entirely. So,
Is it
eh,
something everyone loves though? Like,
I know
let's be real. It's fun, but the same team wins every year.
I think that's
It
part of the
it
problem
will
as
win
well.
every year for the foreseeable future.
I think that's the part of the problem as well is that people are very tired of South Korea winning every single year. To which
Do
I
we
mean,
ban South Korea from BlizzCon?
well, no, that's the thing. Like, freaking get better. Like, it's part of the good thing with the Overwatch League is that we get these intermingling of talents to where the skill level just as a whole rises, and then USA picks Arrow as their coach, and then we're gonna be stuck again. But I think I know, like, speaking personally, like, World Cup is how I got into Overwatch, how many of my friends got into Overwatch. Like, it's a very sentimental event for people, which is why I understand people getting so upset with it getting cut down as much as it has been. But it's just in a spot where, like, it needs to be this way for Blizzard to continue doing it.
I'll be honest too, like just looking at the list of all of the teams that are making it out to Anaheim, this is honestly a lot more teams than I would have expected for the Cup, knowing how many of them had to fund their way to Anaheim. But looking at the preliminaries, what are some of the teams out there, whether it is, another team in the top 10 or, maybe someone that falls under the radar that you guys are looking forward to seeing compete the most? Because I know there's definitely a couple of standouts, even outside of, those top 10 teams out there.
You're up, Ed.
Okay, I mean, the first of the non-guaranteed, for me, it has to be the UK. Because they're in the prelims. I mean, that team's pretty stacked. I am very interested in Sweden as well, just because I want to see Elevote and Lullish.
Right? Now that, they haven't played in forever.
Yeah, now that they, it's been like a year and a half since they played together. And then there's one other team. Oh, Denmark. Denmark was a team that I thought I'm not saying Denmark is gonna make it, but I've been a big fan. They have a good DPS lineup.
Fisher and
And
Shax.
they have Shax, Fisher. They do have Kelix on there, and then they have Scalar, who plays for Uprising Academy. Their tank lines is the Molf is on the British Hurricane. Then they have HSL Esports Henningsen. So like they have a team that is built in either the Overwatch League or in Contenders or Kelix, who is a Mercy one trick at this point. Who's going to be great. So that's a team that is a little scary to me. As far as like they could upset some people. New Zealand is always kind of one of those. They have color hex. Like it's he could cause some upsets on his own. And then I can't really see that many other big upset teams. Maybe Norway, maybe because I know they have DCOD who can do some damage. I know everyone's gonna want, and this is political. Everyone's gonna want Hong Kong to do well, but they're just not built to be a good team, and they never have been a good team or anything like that. But
If you're looking for a standout on that team, probably Mui would be your go-to in that case.
yeah, and then you have a lot of these teams who are just have basically one whole team is essentially the roster. So like the Philippines. So you have MMK is basically that entire roster.
Well, do we think that, like, we've seen all the marketing stuff with Team Ireland as well? Do we think Ireland has any sort of decent shot?
I'm just not too familiar with.
They have a
Any of those
shot at
players.
winning best apparel. Does that count?
Because you look at the rosters, and Ireland is one of the fewer teams out there. Like they don't have anyone on an official at the pro team right now. At least in like contenders.
Yeah. So I don't know. Outside of the top, you have the top 5, and then you have UK, Australia, Sweden, Russia, Finland. I would say my top team. Ooh, God. Yeah, I'd have to go Denmark as my top team outside of the top 10. It's hard not to vote for Shax, Kelix, Fisher. Yeah, it's hard for me not to vote for them. I don't know. Totem, you are the tier 2 contenders. You probably know 90% of these people.
Not in all cases. The teams that I have an eye on, primarily outside of the top 10 teams are Japan, Iceland, Chinese Taipei, aka Taiwan, Germany, Denmark, which we talked about. For me, Taiwan is always a team that I'm looking forward to. Same with the Japan team. You look at like Taiwan and like Thailand, both like Taiwan has Bacon Shack, and like a teen. Thailand has a lot of familiar faces. Mickey's gonna be on the team. You have Titawat, who's been tanking for Uprising Academy. Puto's been doing great things over in the Pacific, over on Talon Esports for DPS. But it's fortunate, like because of the age requirements this year, Thailand is not going to be at full strength on DPS, unfortunately, for them. But that's a team that always plays super aggressive, gets in your face, and they're primed to do pretty good in the prelims. Japan is another one that plays hyper aggressive, which I always love to see. So for them, just seeing like who they're bringing back this year. I know they have Samurai D. Haku from XL2 Academy is on there. You've got I can't remember how he pronounces it. It's either Tayo or Talio, who plays for Jupiter, who's been one of the premier DPS out of that region as a whole. So those are ones I'm looking forward to, but honestly, like when you're looking at the top 5, I don't know which one I could see actually falling out. Russia, to me, is probably the weakest out of like the top 10 rankings. Just looking at the rosters, a lot of these other teams have more Overwatch League talent. But Russia has Shadowburn and Enlar. And I don't know if that's going to stack up against some of these other teams. So there's Dark Horse potential for sure, but I'm looking at Thailand and Japan primarily on that front.
Yeah, you said Iceland, and I immediately ignored everything you said because no one's allowed to cheer from Iceland.
I got Happy Cool.
Yeah, I don't
He's
care.
one of the OGs, and I got Finzy.
I don't care. Have you seen Mighty Ducks 2?
Of course I've seen Mighty Ducks.
Iceland is the enemy. You do not ever cheer for Team Iceland.
I will only because of Happy Cool.
Because Emilio Estevez says not to.
I'm interested to see what Team Sweden does, especially with Elva and Losish on there. And because I'm excited to see Snillo actually get to play finally. But I'm really just wondering how these are, like, as far as I'm excited for whichever of these teams makes it into the actual like tournament, but I just don't see any of them making significant headway except for like UK, Australia, and Sweden.
What about Spain? I mean, you have the Harry Hook, you have Neptuno.
I'm not feeling it. I mean, Neptuno's back to DPS in. They don't really. That's a lot of unproven talent on that team.
Yeah.
But Boostio's on the team.
Poland is also.
Oh, he's on Saudi Arabia. My bad.
I don't know if that's the same Boostio. Yeah, that's not the same Boostio.
But
yeah, I know what Boostio you're thinking of. That's not the same Boostio.
I tried to make Ed a Boostio earlier tonight, and he was too afraid to actually go for it.
Well, I can't wall ride. So, Poland's interesting too with Danye. And Danye is someone I actually became a fan of because of last year's World Cup. So I mean, I'm not saying Poland's going to do anything, but there's definitely there could be some surprise teams. There's always going to be at least one surprise team. I do agree with you, Totem, that I think Russia, if anyone's getting knocked out of the top 10, it's Russia. Because personally, Shadowburn, Shadowburn's trash.
Remember last year though, when Shadowburn literally was the only person carrying his team into contention. Like Mistakes was going and teabagging people before he got his head bolted off. Like Shadowburn was solo carrying Russia last year.
Yes. And he can't play Genji this year. and he's not good on Farah.
This
Or
fair is
any.
decent. Why are you coming after my mans like this?
I don't know, because he can't even stay on a freaking team. Like, his Overwatch League career's done.
No, I agree with you there. Like his hero, like he just hasn't had it. I just think looking at him, I think I'm excited to see Shadowburn play, but I just sorry.
Wait, are you
Ramses
excited to
died.
see him play, or are you excited to see him hold on to his ult for 25 minutes?
We're excited to see him choke. You just did.
Boom.
Ooh.
Roasted. That's it. You're being relegated to sleeping in the bathtub.
No. Yeah, I'm excited to see him play. I'm excited to see Russia play because I also like that tank line of Tao, not sure how to pronounce it, and Tonic. But I agree though. I think Russia might slip. Yeah, I think Russian might slip.
Finland is kind of scary too.
You mean Winland?
Yes. Like, I do like how they put RCK on DPS. They do have Zappis and Cloudy on the tank line. Then you got Shaz and Matza on the support line. Like, that's probably one of the better support lines in the entire World Cup. I mean, it's a better support line than the US has.
I think the only
Better
one that
than-
rivals it is probably UK with Funny Astro, Boombox, and Cruz. I don't know. Maybe we'll see Cruz on DPS. You never know. UK can do some weird shit.
The Cruz Genji has to come back.
I would love to see it. Reading the back.
No, I think
Nah.
I didn't realize too. I think Finland also has a pretty good team. If anything, wait. Okay, but here's the problem. Like tanks look good with Zappis and Cloudy. Supports between Shaz, Masa, and Zupe, pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But RCK and Ricky as your primary, like Ricky maybe not, but like RCK as like your starting DPS,
He's playing like Sombra.
Yeah.
and only
That's all he
Sombra.
did for the Dallas Fuel in Boston. I know he was their off tank, but he wasn't really their off tank.
See, and this is why Houston has the strongest tank line in the world. Now that we have Muma and Hydration and Blase and Dante.
That's not how that works. They're not like forming Ultron.
Technically, we have 5 off tanks. But anyways, I think to be a homer about it, I'm excited to see Team USA play. It's just like that episode of The Office where it's that I am ready to get hurt again. I'm excited for everybody who viciously championed for Super to be the Team USA main tank. Watch him get clapped immediately by anyone who's not playing Reinhardt.
So when we're looking at
And you're muted, bud.
Oh, he's muted.
I
can't
did it
even see
again.
it.
Super said on his stream that he is not the starting tank. That's what he said.
Sounds like a troll.
I'm just
Who
saying.
else do they even have? Like,
They're
are you
trolling.
gonna put?
He's trolling.
Yeah. He also
Absolutely
did.
trolling.
He also did drunkenly confirm that. What was it? OGE was going to the Gladiators.
That was heavily rumored. The only other situation that has happened was Sinatra coming out on Reinhardt and just being super
Dude.
aggro.
Big brain right here. Sinatra Sigma Space Orisa.
I don't know.
But what do? You still have fucking Raucus.
Hey, Raucus is decent on anything that doesn't involve him playing Zenyatta. So I mean,
Really? Because he won't be playing Zen or Anna. That's his best hero is Anna, and you are not playing Anna in this comp.
his Moira is okay, and that's all I care about.
Okay. Big brain.
he can
Sinatra
yeet the
on
ball.
Moira. Better off.
I really like. Yeah, I'm excited to see Team USA play. I'm excited to see Corey pop off. I'm excited to see Space pop off. I do. It is going to be interesting. I really wonder how, like, what sort of devil magic it would take for us to not be in the same block as South Korea.
We are.
We are.
We're in Group A.
No, I know. I'm saying like every single year we get freaking put in the same block. So
Yeah, we're with South Korea and France.
yeah, which
So
honestly, I'm not sure how confident I am with France this year.
Yeah, Poco's out. So they got Tech 36 and Chubbs for their incline.
I mean, Hip will have a good game, but when you have maybe the second most inconsistent DPS in the world with Soon, I don't know how I feel.
wait, who's your first most inconsistent?
Linkser.
Okay.
I love the boy, but if Linkser isn't pumped up, he's not great. Um, I I think Canada is going to be a little bit overrated, just because I think XQC has a lot of rust.
But you have all of those Toronto Defiant DPS. Agility, Surefour, and Mangachu.
Hey, can we just say Kariv is Korean? Can we just say Kariv is Canadian finally and just put him on this team as well?
He's too good to be called Canadian.
They have Crimzo. I mean, they're doing okay.
Yeah, they have Crimzo, but they also that's negated because they
They
have
have Bonnie.
Bonnie's decent.
No,
You know,
you're not convincing anyone of that. I'm sorry, Ramses. You are not convincing anyone that Bonnie is good.
Why
is
it
the same time?
Every time we bring up any Outlaws player, he's just like,
Every time.
but they're decent.
Well, that's the key. Is they're decent. They're not great. But like,
are they though? If they were decent, you would have been in the bottom 5.
Decent equals mediocre, but
decent means that they're about good enough to be on the Florida Mayhem starting roster.
I wonder though with China, because like I've really like Jinmu's come out way hard. Gushue, I think, will have a similar performance. I gotta wonder though, not similar as in like I think he'll let me rephrase it. I think Gushue will do fine. I really wonder how much they go down just by not having Leave in the lineup.
Yeah, and that's true too, because like when you look at last year, Eileen and Leave were the core of that team outside of Gushue, who I hard championed on the panel last year, but like you lose a lot of that flexibility without Leave on that lineup this
Yep. Now, are they allowed to bring anyone out like to replace him?
I honestly don't know.
I would be surprised if they didn't allow that.
Well, because they had already said like the thing about Leave came out like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So like they've had time. They know.
Yeah, the only thing is with China is the big thing is you don't know what they're gonna play. All you can say for certain is they're not gonna play the meta because they never play the meta. Yeah, like they're a more aggressive style of play and it works out for them. So China is going to be completely hit or miss this year. They have a good lineup. They probably have even without Leave, they probably have the third best total lineup in the World Cup. But it's if their aggressive style of play works or not. It worked last year. It did not work the year before. But like we'll see what happens this year if people kind of come around to it. But yeah, I'm excited to see what China can do. But Leave was going to be the one person in the World Cup that I was like, watch this person because he can actually play. So yeah, because my other two, watch these people. 2 of them are South Korean and aren't getting onto that South Korean roster.
So when we're talking about standout players for you guys, who are you mostly looking forward to seeing this year? I know for me, Funny Astro is always a highlight. I'm really anxious to see how aggressive he's going to be this year, whether or not it's going to bite him in the ass, kind of like it did in Overwatch League. I feel like World Cup is a better format for him, so I really feel like he's going to pop off. Architect, I want to see the return of the Chandelier Bastion. That'd be fantastic. And outside of that, I just want to see Titawat from Thailand just inking things up because he's had some standout performance as of.
You gotta think this might be like a little proving ground for Redoshan to be like, crap, I have to prove I'm still worth being on this London team because clearly, like as the one London Spitfire player that's on this team,
Mhm.
The guy's got like, and also the one player from like that core of note who's still on that team. I think he's going to have to put out a really big performance, especially when there's people who I think we can all agree were better suited that should have been in the lineup. Well, not should have been, I guess, but like that we would have chosen, I guess, to play flex support.
Not like there's a shortage of those in Korea.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just excited for Choi to clap literally everybody, and that'll be great.
I got 3 people I'm looking forward to the most. IDK from South Korea. I want to see how he works with this team because like a lot of people I mean a lot of people know about IDK, but it was still a semi surprising pick. Because I mean he signed with the Spark and kind of rose up and main supports don't get a lot of flash. And I'm interested to see that. I'm very interested also in Crimzo from Canada. I've always been a big Crimzo fan. And then outside of the top teams, I think the person I'm most excited to see is Shax. DPS, not healer.
Hmm.
Because I know it's Shaz, but every time you say Shax, everyone's like, "Oh, the Gladiator." No, not the Gladiator support player. That's Shaz. Shax, the DPS player for the Valiant, rumored to be the only DPS player for the Valiant.
KSF is still there.
Dear rumored, I said, because KSF is supposed to be traded. I forgot which team was he rumored to be going to.
No idea.
I
Yeah,
haven't
he
heard
was
that
rumored to
rumor,
be traded. But Shax, I've long petitioned for Shax. Even before he was like when he got traded to the Valley in the first place, I was like, Shax should be the starting DPS there. And then he actually played pretty well. So if there's one person I say keep an eye on Shax from Denmark. Hopefully they make it into the top 10. Don't know if they will, but hopefully they do, so Shax can prove it on a bigger stage.
You know, this is kind of a ridiculous take to make, but I can't believe I'm saying this. I am excited to watch XQC on the live stage just because it's somebody who has this history with the game that we don't get to see that often. Now, when he goes back in his streaming shelf over there, I'm great with that too. But it's fun. I enjoy seeing him in the World Cup format where he's locked in and focused.
I was just about to say, I'm like, you do realize he's the number 1 streamer on Twitch right now, right?
Say that again. Sorry.
He's the number 1 streamer on Twitch.
Oh, I know. He's not coming back to Overwatch League.
Yeah.
I don't expect him to, but I want him to. He's doing fine. But like it is fun to see him just come out every once a year for the World Cup. Even if this is apparently his last one, as he said, like every time. Uh I'm it's just fun. I like that. I'm excited to see I I'm a big Corey mark, so I'm pretty excited to see Corey actually get to play on like the big stage. And then as far as the other teams go, when I think about it, there's nobody else that immediately comes to mind for me. Although, like, this is what's great. Like, that's what's great about World Cup is again just finding new players that you weren't necessarily aware of before.
Also, I will say I just looked it up. KSF is reportedly going to Dallas.
For another hit scan, yeah, woo! More hit scans.
Yeah. So, Totem, which obscene, no one's ever heard of is going to be your number 1 person to watch? I know you said
Unheard
like
of. I mean,
when you did the panel last year, you said Gooshway, and everyone's like, "Bless you." Like nobody knew who the hell you were talking about, and you're like, "Gooshway this, Gooshway that, Gooshway this, Gooshway that."
Yeah,
So
Gooshway over here.
yeah.
hold on.
So who is your?
I'm
number
pulling
1?
out the rosters. Hold on.
All right.
Now
Number
here's a
1
guy
player
who's a great
number 1 player we might not have heard of that will probably make it into the top 10. Like I know you said what's his name from Thailand. Thailand's not making it into the top 10. They just aren't.
I'm looking.
or
Okay.
Taiwan.
Okay, if I go to the roster page or Wikipedia, that's not gonna give me the teams that are actually not playing. I gotta go to the actual prelims one.
Yeah, go to the prelims tab and then just hit show players, and it will show the entire rosters.
See, I wish I knew if Brazil was playing, because that's still the unknown.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, because I really like that team, but, like, that's always a team that I feel like gets overhyped a little bit too much, even though they're competitive.
Ooh, there's a guy from Greece who has my favorite name. His name's Mick John. So it seems like it's like a gigolo that also works at McDonald's.
What about his teammate, the Cook? Because I like that one.
Mick John, the cook. So he has 3 jobs. Oh, no, 2. He's a gigolo at McDonald's where he cooks.
Mm-hmm.
With
See,
the Cook,
you know what? We got this. We got this. And we are the best. Me and Ramses are literally the best at stalling time. So Toto can look stuff up.
Between my roboting and Ed's rants. I will say
Bubble Kitty. We got a Bubble Kitty.
See, I love also that one of the tanks for Ireland is literally called Pure Irish. I do wonder, at what point on Thursday do you think we get the super obvious, like, this is rigged, Blizzard holding down small countries, they got tired from the plane and like they lost all their luggage and one of the buttons on the mouse fell off and they screwed over this team, Blizzard sucks. Like, Blizzard sucks for other reasons, but like it's just one of these things where like people are so eager to find faults in everything that just can't be controlled.
I'm just looking at rosters and I see Gray playing DPS on Portugal.
Yep.
That's gonna be interesting.
I will say this. So when Hong Kong loses, will they interview them?
I don't think they do. I don't think anybody. I don't think anybody except for Overwatch League players are going to get interviews.
Fair. Oh, by the way, the coach for South Africa's name, not Groot. In all caps, too.
Mm-hmm.
Have we stalled long enough for you, Toto?
I don't really have like one that immediately stands out for me.
He's like, this is little-known player from South Korea.
Switzerland.
Heard of him? His name's Hexel.
I mean, if we're going for people that I know have been around the scene for quite some time, and yes, this is actually going to be on one of the top 10 ranked. Leaf on France is going to be a standout for me on DPS. Maybe not a ton of people would be familiar with him. Outside of that, though, it's just like there's a lot of no names in the tier 2 scene at this point that are more pushed to the front. If Brazil makes it, Honorato and Liko are both standouts. Honorato is primarily playing off tank, but I don't know if Brazil's coming, so who knows at that point. So like, I hope to make it out.
How far do you see the UK going? Like, that's a good team.
I feel like UK is going to do what. In my gut, I feel like UK is going to do what happened to USA last year, where they're going to come in, they're going to swing around, they're going to talk a bunch of shit, and they're going to get clapped. Like they're going to get, what's the word? They're going to get upset by some team that we haven't heard of. I think UK has the potential to definitely go pretty far into this tournament, but I also think that with how much trash this team talks, like you've already heard about them getting kicked out of a pub, like because people kept ordering food at the bar to where they were ordering like thousands of dollars worth of food. So I don't know, I think UK definitely can go far. I would just, if they get upset, I'm not surprised.
The real question is, will they get thrown into the United States Group A on top of South Korea?
No, they actually won't. If they make it in, they will be in Group B.
Is it based on the ranking?
Yeah, it would be based on the ranking. So they would go, the top seed would go into Group B, and they would be the top seed. So we can't lose them in the first round.
So basically, if, let's say, all the top seeds advance, it means we'd have Sweden and Finland in Group A, with Russia, UK, and Australia in the other one?
I think that's how it works. And then the US would actually face, if all else fails, and this is just, I think it would be if all works out well. Actually, I think the US would face Australia. God, I don't even know.
I know.
I wish they would announce this kind of stuff. Like, we're 2 days away, and we have no idea who's even playing each other in the prelims.
Yeah, I know they released like the map order and things like that earlier. I don't have that up on screen.
Yeah, I actually have that up, the viewer's guide. And so, like, they have, like, the map order, which doesn't narrow anything down.
Does it say
Uh,
anything about the format? Are these all like first to three?
um, so it says prelims on Thursday, whatever, beginning at 10 a.m. All non-top 5 teams that come to Anaheim will be entered into a bracket tournament. The
It's
teams will be
single elimination.
seeded. Yeah, the teams will be seeded into 5 brackets and will play the first to 3 matches. The 6th to 10th seeds, UK, Australia, Sweden, Russia, Finland, will each get buys into the second round of each bracket. And then they literally have like every map available. um, so, and then you go into the group stage play that starts on Friday, and each team will again play a 3-map match against all the teams in their group. So then the top 3 teams by record will advance from each group with the map differential as the tiebreaker. Um, and then what was it? Saturday. So this is just preliminary stuff. So on Saturday,
Right.
you have the top 6 teams will begin bracket play with the top 2 teams receiving a first round bye. Each match, again, first to 3 map wins. The winners of the 2 second round matches will advance to the gold medal match. The losers of the second round matches will compete for the bronze. So, yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's the winners. If you can get in the top 2, you basically just have to win 1 match to get to the gold medal. So that's where South Korea will be.
Okay, so all memes aside, guys. Honest takes, how far do you think US goes this year? Obviously, the expectations from everyone is super high on this team. They have had 5th through 8th place finishes for 3 consecutive years, all of which were won by South Korea. Do the US team make it out of the quarterfinals?
Um, I think they have a shot. And the reason I say that is if they have to face Australia in the first round, I think they can beat Australia. I also think that they can beat Russia if they have to face them. Now, if they have to face like the UK, Sweden, or Finland, I I honestly think there's a good chance they lose any one of those matchups.
Well, the other thing
Like,
too is that the other teams that Team USA would go up against have had some games to establish a rhythm and like get in the mindset and be able to start rolling forward. I mean, Team USA is definitely scrimming and like practicing and boot camping, but they're also coming into this like kind of raw, like raw than having a couple games as a team in a game setting underneath your belt.
Yeah, I
You're
don't know.
muted up.
Like,
yeah, no, it's one of those things where I could 100% see that. I don't see them as a top 5 team. And they're not a top 5 team. Let's be real.
I
They
mean,
haven't finished top 5 the past 2 World Cups.
when you just look at the rosters, at least in regards to the top 5 ranked teams, like, I do put them over France.
Mhm.
China's kind of a weird one. Like, I feel like if Levi Lean or the DPS duo, I would say US would fall a little short on that front. But with only Jinmu and Eileen, I think that does push US above China. So right now, at least in regards to top 5, all, like, discussion set aside on that, whether or not it's warranted, they'd be right in the middle.
they've also they basically have almost the same team for the past 2 years. Minor changes here or there, but you've had like Moth and Ruckus, Super,
Sinatra and Space.
Sinatra.
No, Super didn't play last year.
Not Super, Space. Sorry,
Space
Space
and
and
Sinatra.
Sinatra.
Well, Space is there because there's really not that many options.
I think.
True, but
I think
they haven't won. They haven't won. Like, what
they haven't
have they
played.
shown that they've actually been able to win?
Team USA, I think, is going to be tied for third with China. Excuse me. I think it definitely goes South Korea, Canada, China, Team USA, and then France. It's
I think
all.
UK is better. I think UK is the number 3 team.
Oh, I'm talking about out of the top 5 group we already have. Team UK, I think, definitely has a shot at making it into top 3. But realistically, I think it's going to come down to Arrow's coaching. If Arrow actually plays the meta and actually rolls forward with it instead of refusing to play meta or refusing to play the counter meta that was actually working at the time.
And I'll ask this again: what has Arrow done to prove to us that he's actually a good coach?
I'm there with you. Like I like everybody else wanted either Junkbuck or DPay to get it,
Yeah.
but I feel not confident in Team USA, and I think that's also something to temper with. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with Totem as far as expectations being high this year. I think expectations are tempered a little bit where we think they could do really well, but we don't necessarily expect them to make it to the top just because we know how they performed for the past couple years.
Well, like we technically already had this discussion last year.
Yeah, excuse me. I think Team USA has the capability and they have a shot. It's going to come down to coaching for me, and I think realistically, other teams are going to be better coached.
Yeah. I would put US as the 5th best team in the World Cup. Like, I would put South Korea what? Derp. Uh,
But a bold
Canada
take.
too. Yeah, bold take. South Korea has the best World Cup team. Also, hot take. The B team from South Korea, also the best World Cup team.
What
I know.
about the C
Going
team?
out on C team, still would be best team in the World Cup. All right, so you got South Korea 1, Canada 2. That hurt me to say.
Totem, you would know better than I have. Have you watched the Team South Korea versus
I
Gen
didn't
G
know.
game?
But you can't. I cannot stress this enough. Do not put so much stock value in any sort of showman.
Right.
Well, no, I'm just saying it's funny because like you remember last year people were like, "Oh, like Team South Korea looks super beatable," and like even this year with the Gen G game, even though they beat Gen G, people were like, "Man, they look super beatable. Like it could happen."
It's a facade. That's all it is.
Yep.
And then you take the South Koreans out of the mix, and it's like, "Oh no, wait, they're still like a foot above everybody else." Okay.
Oh, that was a little dirty.
That's not what I meant, but okay.
So I would put South Korea 1, Canada 2.
You mean 1A, 1A, 1B, 1C?
I would put China at 3. I'm higher on China than I think most people. I think this team will do quite well. But 4, I put the UK. I put UK at 4, and I put the US at 5. I think they are better than France. I will say that, but I don't think US is better than UK. You know, UK beat us last year. So I don't know. We're not going to do crap with Team USA until we get a new coach, B, flex support, and C, a legit main tank. I think we're there with DPS. I think we can compete with DPS. We just don't have the main tank. We don't have the flex support. And we don't have the coach.
See it. But who knows? All I know is it's safer to expect disappointment.
Well, but here's the thing, though. At this point in time, do we think Sleepy is that much of an upgrade over Raucus?
Nope. I don't think Sleepy is an upgrade at all.
The problem with
Dogman
that
is.
is he hasn't been playing.
Exactly. He hasn't been playing. He got subbed out for Guido for the entirety of stage 4.
Is Dogman better than Raucus?
So here, let me put it on my video cam so you can.
And if you say no, then I know you're just a homer.
So Dogman's better than Raucus. I'm not going to fight you on that. I do think.
Defeated.
I do actually think that they picked Raucus because realistically, the sacrifice and play is worth kind of the obtuseness of Dogman's, I guess, playstyle.
You need that, though.
Like, but I'm roboting again. I'm roboting back to turn off the camera.
Okay.
But
you need that.
I think it's
Dogman
worth
mentality.
the obtuseness of Dogman's playstyle. Sorry, it's. Have I caught up? We're caught up?
Yeah?
It sounds fine now.
Sorry about that. No, I think Dogman skill-wise, I would definitely say is better. I think they go with Raucus because Raucus is a little bit less of a high risk, high reward type player. And I think that Arrow already has a familiarity there. So
why wouldn't you go with the high risk, high reward? It's not like you're doing that well. You've been knocked out in the first round the past 2 years. Plus, you get that one person who's the rah-rah sis boom bod type of guy. You get the guy, the team, and the fans can get behind and chant USA, USA, and actually mean it instead of just saying it because you're from the flipping United States. You actually give two shits.
That, and we also get the mid-game trash talk.
Yeah, like you get that loud person, the one the fans love. The fans don't have somebody on this team that like is all like Team USA, go Team USA, so on and so forth. You get that in every other sport. And I know we're gonna get complaints about this, but I don't care. Like,
please direct all complaints to Ednar Overwatch on Twitter.
So, all right, if anyone ever follows and just don't say anything till I'm done. Golf. There's this thing called the Ryder Cup, and it's U.S. versus UK. Okay, Patrick Reed is not a top golfer. He is not. He is not one of the top 10 golfers. He gets picked every time because he is the guy who goes out there and is like, you know what? I'm doing this for my country. I'm doing this to spite Team UK. And he goes out there and they match him against the top players in the world from Team UK because he is that guy. You get that in a lot of sports out there, and in the Olympics, you have that one person who goes out there and they are your rah-rah person, the one everyone can get behind and every team needs. Dogman is that person. Raucus is not.
Mm-hmm.
Throw on top of that, Dogman is a better player than Raucus. Like, yes, Dogman might not have done well in scrims, but you have an entire season of Overwatch to look at and be like, Dogman's better.
Well, and I would have picked Dogman as well. I just think it's Arrow's coaching decision.
And that is red flags to me up the wazoo. The fact that Dogman and Nero are not on this team is beyond me, regardless of scrims. Nero needs to be on this team. Dogman needs to be on this team. Super should not be on this team, and it should be Muma.
Nero already said he wasn't going to compete. That was the reason he's not on the team.
But he also said he did not perform well in scrims. So he did not get picked, and he was not a finalist.
Right.
So it's just Team USA should be totally different, and just doing the same. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, and that's what Team USA is doing.
You played Far Cry 3. You did it.
Like, I don't. You just need to You need to do something that isn't like they performed the best in these 3 weeks of scrim, so we'll take them. Well, you have to use the eye test at some point, and Arrow didn't do any of that shit.
Mhm. No, I agree with you. This team would look very different if it was if it was based off of game results rather than scrim time.
Yeah, it's weird how, they should actually take actual play into account, but they don't. Practice makes so much more sense. We're talking practice. Ugh. I hated half of the people on this team from that Arrow chose. Like, there's no need to even have scrims.
I
You
think something
have
we're dealing with.
you have 8 months of tape on these players. You know who's gonna play the best.
Well, I think part of it too is something that Team USA is going to struggle with is that I think this team was picked for a meta that they didn't really know what was going to be going forward. Like the best, if we were talking like the best version of Sigma Orisa, I think you put Gator in that lineup.
Gator didn't even play Sigma in the gauntlet.
Hawk is underage, but like that's what I'm saying. Like there are other people like that could have flourished there in that role. I just think now we're kind of stuck in this hero pool. We're like, well, crap. Does Space play Sigma? I guess. Okay. What does Super do Orisa? Okay. He's like, I don't know. I think Team USA has the skill ceiling to get to top 3, but I agree with like it's just all coaching. I think is what's going to hold them down.
And only time will tell. And of course, we got to see what the draw is going to be.
We're gonna watch Team USA gets South Korea in the first round. Boom. Out.
I will laugh, and then that arena will empty almost immediately after we lose.
Yep. Yeah, it's about right. Which is why they won't allow that to happen.
Or will they?
Yeah,
they haven't shied away from doing it in the past.
Well, they thought it like they're like, oh, we'll just give them Team UK. They'll be able to beat them. They get nope, we got rolled.
Remember 2 years ago when they let us re-roll and we still got South Korea?
Yeah. RNG at its finest.
They just need to put in a rule: no Korean players that have played in the Overwatch League. Only contenders. And that is legit. They still would be the number 1 team. But it's the only shot we got. Sad.
One of these days. Maybe in Overwatch. Maybe in Overwatch 2.
Yeah. And I love the argument that, like, well, a mixed roster won the Overwatch League championship. Do you realize they had 1 non-Korean starting?
2.
Partial starter. 1.5. We'll go 1.5. Because they had Sinatra playing 2 maps out of every 5.
No. You don't get to pull the 5 map argument here, Ed. Mr. 5th maps don't count ever in my life. 5th maps are bullshit. No, he played half the maps, okay?
You do realize that they played best of 7, right?
You mean first to 4s?
First to 4
terminology.
Don't call and they guess what? They played 4 maps every single time, and he played half of those 4 maps every single time.
Okay, so
Golden Stage.
So 1.5?
Half. He played half the maps, Ed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Moth played all of them, and Sinatra's a half. That's 1.5. Non-Koreans.
Man, this is why Team USA keeps losing. It's because there's people like Ed holding us down over here.
I don't know about that. Remember, they have Arrow as a coach.
I can feel the grimace in my bones. I'm with you.
They started Zachary last year.
Yeah, that didn't really. My OBS upload is like hopefully we're not dropping too many frames. But anyways.
Before I forget, Toto, did you see this translated quote from Jaehong about how he's interested in the main tank position?
He also said he's
I know-
already decided on what team he's
He did
going
decide
to.
on a new
Yeah.
team. I did not see the main tank thing, and we do not need
Florida
another
Mayhem.
experiment with Ryuji Khan.
It's not Paris, because a lot of people were speculating Paris.
Maybe London.
I'm going Florida Mayhem.
It's a team that doesn't have any boosters on it, is what he's also said.
That doesn't have what?
Boosters on it, or former boosters on it. So it's not Philly either. Not that he was going to go to Philly, but like, that's just the first booster that comes to mind.
Florida Mayhem.
I hope not. My OBS is like freaking me out because it keeps going green, yellow, red, yellow, green.
That's just a sign that we should probably end it.
Yeah, I don't know what to do. I don't want. But anyways, with that being said, guys, we are going to close out the show for tonight. So I do want to thank everyone again for joining us for our network special covering BlizzCon both. And we got Overwatch 2 news, talking a little bit about the World Cup, and of course, we'll be talking more about this together on Halloween for just a little bit. So with that being said, Ramses, of course, we're always looking for ways for, our listeners to reach out to us and how we can improve. So why don't you let them know how they can send in reviews for the show?
For sure. So the best way you can help out the show is heading on over to your favorite podcatcher. I'm an iTunes man myself, but I've heard there's a lot of Spotify and Google Play people out there somewhere in the woods. But the best thing you can do is go out to that podcatcher and leave us a review. It always helps us improve the show, gives us new ideas for things we can do, and it makes it just a better listening experience for everybody involved. You can also, if you're interested in more Overwatch content beyond just this show or any of the shows directly associated with it, Totem also does an awesome thing with Overwatch Recall, which is a bunch of different Overwatch content and mostly podcasts on the website. Every Sunday, we release the new listing for that week, and you can follow it on Twitter at OW Recall.
Absolutely, and it's worth noting too, like as I mentioned on prior episodes, Bitsy here and CarQ recently started a new general Overwatch podcast called the FitzQ Podcast, and I know they had Fran and Aspen on their last episode. Unfortunately, Fran did leave Revival, so we don't get their duo, unfortunately. So we'll see what sort of movements they make, but definitely go check them out. Production quality through the roof, as you expect from some pretty much like everyday streamers for Overwatch, and can't wait to see what they're going to do with that series. But if you guys would like to support our podcast network, of course, you can do a couple of different things. We do stream on Twitch, so any Twitch Prime subs are greatly appreciated, or, tier 1 subs. We also have Patreon, where you have tiers starting at just $1 a month. So for more info, visit patreon.com/OWL Network, so you too can join the likes of our master and above patrons in Blazin' Bob, Brendan, JZ, Owl, and Kesha in helping our network grow. And of course, it's BlizzCon week. We got Con Before the Storm on Halloween. That is at the Hilton Anaheim on the 2nd floor. And we do have the Overwatch panel kicking off at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, hosted by myself. And of course, I will be joined by these two guys, as well as Dee from Omnic Weekly, Blevins from High Noon, and Melarina from OWL Recap. And of course...
And I don't get an entrance music. I'm still a little bitter about this.
Wait, there's entrance music?
No, we're not. We're not. Ed keeps putting ideas in his head, and it's not going to go through at all.
Ed, if you just come out with a Bluetooth speaker, Totem can't stop you. He's already on the board.
Exactly. I was going to hold it, my iPhone over my head, John Cusack style.
And it honestly wouldn't matter, because it wouldn't make the feed anyway.
I'll make the feed.
That's not how that works. But anyways,
you
Ed,
underestimate my craftiness.
You and I are also doing a meet and greet, and that is at the 10 p.m. Pacific time block. We'll be there for an hour, so swing by your table, chat with us, talk some Overwatch, bring home some loot, and of course...
Get manscaping tips.
That too. But Ed, why don't you...
Well, you can ask Ed some random Marvel questions, too.
Yeah, ask me anything. I'll answer anything, and if I don't know, I'll just make up the answer.
There you go. But with that being said, Ed, why don't you go ahead and let our listeners know how they can contact us?
All right, so you can contact us through email at contact@owonshow.com. We do have a website, and that's at www.owonshow.com. We do have a couple of Twitter handles that you can reach us at, and that's at @OWLNShow or at HD Overwatch on Twitter. We do have a YouTube channel, and that's youtube.com/Overwatch League Network. We are on Discord. So especially if you're going to BlizzCon, we do have a specific BlizzCon channel for people who want to meet up, all that fun stuff. And that's at discord.me/OWLN show. We are streaming presently live on Twitch at twitch.tv/OWLN show. We are a Twitch affiliate, so come help support the show by subscribing to our channel and earn our network emoticon. Our podcast network does stream pretty regularly, not this week. So Overwatch League Network airs Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. OWL by the Numbers, which the three of us do when Overwatch League is in session, airs Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific. Heroes Never Die, our variety Overwatch show, which Totem and myself do, airs Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific. There will not be a Heroes Never Die this week.
Well,
there probably will be some sort of...
We're not streaming on Wednesday, but this episode will be on both the Overwatch League Network feed and the Heroes Never Die.
Yes, and there's a shot that we might have some recordings coming to you from BlizzCon. Not PG-13 and above. We'll go with that. And then we do have host streams when available, run on a flex schedule, so be sure to follow us to get notified when we go live. As we have previously said, we do have a Patreon, and that's at patreon.com/OWL Network. So if you want to help the show even further, you can come over there, join us. Tiers start at just $1 a month, so you can help us fulfill some of our amazing Overwatch dreams. Yes. You can contact
me that you have, Ed.
My Overwatch dream: get Mercy's res out of the game.
Yeah, we already went through this.
Yeah, I know, but I'm gonna say it again. And during the panel on Con Before the Storm, I have a sneaking suspicion it will come out again, and then me and Mel will bash heads like we always do.
I hope you're sitting right next to her when that happens, and then she's just gonna stare daggers through you.
Oh no, she's just gonna there's a 50-50 chance Mel's gonna throw a drink in my face. No, I won't say anything that bad. Maybe. You can contact me personally on Twitter, and that's at @EdinarOverwatch. And at BlizzCon this week, feel free to go ahead and buy me a beer and bring it up to me. I'll drink really whatever. Ramses, where can they find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at Ramses_OW, and you can find the show that I do with Labosco at PushPointPod. And yeah, I'm excited to hang out with these boys. I'll be sleeping on the ground with the sleep pad.
Bathtub.
I can fit the sleep pad in the bathtub. That's actually going to be pretty sick.
Then I'm gonna turn on the shower. Middle of the night. I'm gonna drunkenly just come in and turn on the shower while you're.
If I can lock the door, I'll be fine.
You're gonna lock us out. You're really gonna lock me out of the bathroom when I'm drunk. That's not gonna go well for anyone.
I'm gonna lock you out of the bathroom that you paid for.
That's not good for anyone.
I'm excited. It's gonna be a really good time.
Absolutely, and you can find me on Twitter at TotallyDrunkCTR. But it is BlizzCon week. We'll see how much we get recorded while we are out there. Drinks are definitely going to be flowing, especially if people are buying me AMFs.
What is AMFs?
An adios, motherfucker. It is basically a blue Long Island.
Okay, I got a bottle of whiskey already packed in my bag. So,
good times.
That's purely hotel room whiskey. That's not traveling whiskey. That's just hotel room whiskey. Because little do these two know, my tradition when I'm on vacation is, so you don't my goal is not really to ever be sober. So my goal is when I do this is you wake up in the morning. I'm not going to be drunk the entire time, but you wake up in the morning, you pour yourself a drink, and you get ready so the hangover doesn't hit. It's my Vegas routine.
See, that's the thing, like, I usually don't get hangovers, but, like, I do drink a lot, and I'm usually always the last person back and the first one out. You know, it's a nice, steady vibe, you know?
Yeah, don't be surprised, you two, if at 7:38 in the morning, Ed wakes up and makes 3 drinks. One for all of us.
And if you're curious about how many flasks I have packed, I have 3.
I was gonna ask, actually.
Can we bring flasks into BlizzCon?
I know, but I highly recommend doing it at
We
the
are
hotels.
definitely not bringing any flasks into BlizzCon, right, guys?
No, definitely not.
Wait, all right, I'll ask
No,
you
no,
that
no,
off
no, no,
stream.
not on the stream.
Definitely not.
See, this is unfair. Because, you know what? And this might sound bad. Women have it a lot easier in the regards to sneaking in alcohol to places. Because they can just stuff in the bra. And that's unfair.
Hey,
I
just
have
wear a
to-
bra, dude. It's easy.
Yes.
Just wear a bra.
Just wear a bra.
Yeah, that's all you
No
gotta
one's
do.
saying
Wear a
you
bra
can't.
forehead.
The thing is though, when they pat me down, they're not going to be like expecting to be like, oh, there's a bra there.
Yeah, and just I have sensitive nipples. I need a bra.
And with that sensitive nipple talk, I think that should do it. Thank you again, guys, for hanging out tonight for us for our BlizzCon special. We'll see you guys back. Probably not gonna record next Monday since I return Monday night after we normally record. So next episode will be HND next week. Enjoy BlizzCon. Enjoy
And I guess
the virtual
I
ticket.
guess I have to wear a bra because I have sensitive nipples.
Yeah, there you go. That's all you gotta do, man. Take care, guys. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.